You have the people on the ground up in arms and upset that over what's going on. And then you literally have the governments of the world or governments of the superpowers saying that nothing's wrong, that Israel is in their right to do what they're doing. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's obviously, clearly, a huge disconnect between what the people want and what the powers that be want.
Well, I think it's what the people interpret. And I think the hypocrisy in the world now has just gotten to a level where it's almost immeasurable that you can sit there and clearly, from my vantage point, what happened last week in Russia, where there was the attack deep into Russia in Murmansk and those areas, where they snuck some drones in.
The field airstrip or something.
They snuck some drones in through trucks. And Russia's a very wide board. I mean, and the West was claiming it's such a huge victory for Ukraine, but it was a suicidal thing. I mean, the point was Ukraine attacked deep into Russia, right? Clearly, you're going to there's going to be a response, right? Putin is not going to.
But a response, but it's funny that a response is okay.
Yes, and
Israel, but
that's the immense hypocrisy, as you rightly said, is that now Russia has responded with tremendous force, right? And you're seeing things that it's residential buildings. We don't know what is true, what is not true. We've spoken about AI before, and the false dissemination of information now has gotten to a level of it's nearly intergalactic. But now, Russia responding to those attacks, right, is inhumane, it's barbaric, he's a thug, and Europe must go on to now their 18th round of sanctions. Because your first 17 did a great job, right? Russia's economy is growing, and when you use purchasing power parity, which is what you really need to use to judge economic fortunes, Russia is like the 5th or 6th biggest economy in the world. They've managed to become self-sufficient within themselves, right? But now, when, on the flip side, anything that happens on the Gaza front
is justified and okay.
Is okay. And
not barbaric and not thuggish.
Israel has a right to defend itself no matter what they've done. We saw what happened with the flotilla, right? The flotilla with Greta Thunberg, who, I mean, good for her, right? She does her thing, right? Unlike Rima Hassan, who was offered, go back home and you have 100-year ban from coming to Israel or stay in jail. What did she do? Stayed in jail. So she's being detained at the Yeveg, whatever the name of whereas Greta Thunberg went back home. But so draw your parallels.
Was she in Rima? Was she in the?
She was on the flotilla as well
with Greta,
right?
And apparently there are other people. And Greta left.
And Greta was given the opportunity to leave, and she left. Right, but the other so I am still kind of agnostic towards Greta Thunberg, right? But I guess her intentions may be noble. But the point is now, so Ukraine attacks Russia, Russia responds, and Russia's the aggressor, right? And this whole thing, you listen to Jeffrey Sachs, you listen to John Mearsheimer, you listen to a lot of the American, not the pop culture opinion leaders, right? And they're talking about, right? Not just the ones who really have some gravitas. And people are beginning to understand that this war started long before 2022, right? This war started in 2014 with the illegal overthrow of the then Viktor Yanukovych government in Ukraine, right? And not too long before, there was an agreement between the two countries, which the EU and what's her name again? Victoria Nuland basically said, to hell with this doesn't work for us. And they preempted this war. So Russia responds, and they're being painted now, oh, look at what Putin is doing. Oh, look at what... And then obviously it's an attack on Trump, because Trump has ceased or claims to have ceased further military support into Ukraine. But in Israel, same thing happens. And it's not an asymmetrical response. I mean, Gaza has been flattened. It's been fucking flattened, right? And it's been flattened And we're seeing it in front of our eyes on television every single day, right? There may be some disinformation. I'm not saying that there was not some propaganda, but we have sat there as a human race and watched this unfold on television, right? We can't say we didn't see it. So all we can say is we didn't give a shit, right? Because we've sat there. But the reality is, the thing that hurts me the most is how impotent I am. There's nothing I can do. What can you do?
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing that you can do except weep. And I look at my children who have running water and, oh, I don't want this for dinner, Daddy. I want something else, right? And I think about children in Gaza. And we'll be judged for it. And there's nothing that you can say by supporting Gaza. And then you have to hear Benjamin Netanyahu say, Free Palestine is the new Heil Hitler. I mean, and, you know, I think we'll be judged. I think our deeds have already shamed all the devils in hell, as Connolly said. And we've sat there and watched it on TV and we've done nothing about it. And we've actually been duped into thinking that by not supporting what is nothing short of genocide, it means you support Hamas.
You're anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and you're anti-Semitic. That's in you and you're anti-Semitic. So, but
do they know that the whole region is are Semites? Lebanon, Syria.
Yeah, I think the whole thing about Semites is misunderstood. Right?
Heavily
misunderstood. And I'm more of a Semite
than Benjamin Netanyahu.
No, he's a Khazarian from what is now Ukraine, the Khazar Empire. Right? None of them are from Israel.
Yeah, that's
right, or from that region. Yeah. Right, and it was amazing. And Piers Morgan, who I obviously has turned. Have you seen Piers Morgan? Piers Morgan has now become, he's flipped. And amazingly, as he's flipped, right, the Western media, he's getting death threats now.
Yeah.
So he was your poster boy.
Listen,
Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Now he's a poster boy.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that there are lots of media tactics that are used to direct narratives, to dispel opinion, to stop anything that is against what they're doing in Gaza. And it's very, very clear because it's everywhere. I see it everywhere. I see it on social media. Like, for instance, take a step back, go back to Ukraine and Russia. I saw the media coverage on social media and mainstream media of the attack that Ukraine did on the airstrip. And I saw words like tactical and brilliant and, game-changing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of very positive things were floated around about that. And then Russia responds. And now Russia is the thug. No mercy. And this
people are sleeping in their beds at night and that type of nonsense. And I'm going to tell you right now, I know people like to hear controversial things. Vladimir Putin is the most just and judicious and fair leader on this planet. How you like that? Because he could have very easily, Russia has the biggest nuclear arsenal on the planet. They have Iskander missiles that are virtually unstoppable by Western security nets, including Patriot missiles. You want to tell me that Vladimir Putin and the Russian state could not have bombed their way to Kiev 2 years ago? Absolutely they could have. Could they not have done what America did in Baghdad? Absolutely they could have.
They dropped hundreds of bombs in one night on Baghdad. In 2003, I remember it very well.
But you see, to them, they're the enemy. To Putin, Ukraine are our brothers. I have no beef with the Ukrainian people. I have a beef with the Banderites, the Nazi movement, and the illegitimate government, right, that is in Ukraine. And what they are doing, right, the suppression and the oppression of the Russian-speaking people in Ukraine. There was a law that was going to be passed to banish Russian language in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And 40% of them speak ethnic Russian. So he feels justified, right? And he did not bomb his way. And then the Western media made it sound as if Russia is weak. We've been hearing that Russia's weak. Russia's weak. Russia's a gas tank. Russia's this. Russia's that. Right? But now Europe is on to the... If Russia is so weak, why did it require now 18 rounds of sanctions?
Yeah.
Why 18 rounds? And why is it now that you fear these unbelievable talking heads in Europe that in a year's time, what did Keir Starmer say? Britain is now on a war footing. You know what a war footing means? This is not just political gamesmanship. When your country's on a war footing, it means you are preparing for war. He is preparing for war with Russia. What does that mean? And then Ursula von der Leyen and Kaja Kallas, two women, one from Estonia and one from Germany, who was an absolute flop as a defense minister in Germany. And Merkel spat her out and she ended up in Brussels. These people are now under the 18th round of sanctions because all Russia understands is strength. That's all they understand. And the 18th round of sanctions against Russia. The same Russia was going to lose the war. The same Russia that's losing, but now Zelensky's begging, I need help, I need weapons, I need money. The war is awful. People dying on both sides is awful.
200 billion later. Of course, people dying is
disgusting.
But that's the whole point. That's why people are like, this needs to stop. Because people dying, not because anything else. I mean, the money being spent in Ukraine is obviously, I think that's just obscene, considering that a few years ago, 6, 7 years ago, whenever it was, pre-pandemic, somebody had said, this was just before Elon had bought Twitter, and somebody said to solve world hunger will take $40 or $50 billion.
Yeah, I remember,
and he was
bigger than that, but I know what I know. Yeah,
and he was ridiculed and criticized. Now, I'm indifferent to Elon Musk. I like the technologies he puts out. I don't like this whole circus show that's going on. But at the end of the day, he said, "Oh well, I'm gonna spend my money how I want to spend my money." But then the U.S. could send $300 billion or $250 billion or whatever it is to Ukraine,
of course,
instead of solving world hunger,
more killing,
and that's okay.
And it's not just
and that's okay
for more killing.
So, but nobody looks at that. And during the Biden administration, when all this money was flying across to Ukraine on a daily basis, and nobody says anything.
Well, I think
but why not take that money and solve world hunger? At least solve hunger in the United States.
Yeah. Well, I think it's still flying now. I'm not going to give Trump a free pass. I mean, the point is, I think Trump has been a little bit more circumspect when it comes to his little beef he had with this guy with Zelensky in the Oval Office. But I think money is still flying, and that's the remarkable thing. I mean, you can find $200 billion, right, to give to Ukraine to fight Russia, right,
to kill people.
But you can't, solve. And Elon has every right to buy Twitter. I mean, the point is, he could have bought Twitter and still solve world hunger.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's all paper wealth, but the reality is, 50 billion here, 50 billion there, you're worth 400 billion. It is, I guess, it's a quarter of his wealth, but but the reality still is now that we are being sold this hypocritical bill of goods. If you dare to counter the narrative, and you're seeing it with Piers Morgan. I mean, I would never have imagined with Piers Morgan. I mean, Piers Morgan was, like I said, was the poster boy. Now he's getting death threats, and all of the Israeli opinion leaders and the Israeli infrastructure or the government superstructure are beginning to write him off and talking about how Piers gives audiences to people. I think he's a low horsepower guy. When you've seen him with Andrew Tate and you've seen him with Bassam Youssef and he gets eaten alive.
I haven't been a fan for 15 years. So
he gets eaten alive. I mean, there's far more aroma than substance with Piers Morgan.
Because he just talks for views. He talks for ratings. Yes. I don't trust anything he says. I don't trust any opinion he's ever shared.
I agree. And it's not even well thought out. And most recently, I think he's a Lebanese or he's a writer, spoken, and he was very calm and telling Piers, we have no issue with the Jews. It's the Israeli state. And when you can separate,
I saw that video. I saw that.
Because this is the truth. And I've argued this point for years. It's not the Jewish faith or the Jewish people, right? Because there are many of the Jewish faith and on the front lines of the protests against Gaza. Yeah. It's the state of Israel. So when we kill and when we fight, we're not fighting the Jews. Get that out of your head. We are fighting the state of Israel. We are fighting the Israelis. When you could begin to essentially disambiguate the two of them right, then you start realizing that this is no longer an extension of what happened in 1939 to 1945, whatever you may believe happened and the extent of what happened. But they're perpetuating it, right? And Netanyahu talks about with America now, you are called the great Satan, we are called the small Satan. So our enemies are your enemies. So you must fight our wars for us. He's goading America into a war with Iran.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. That's his final solution.
I mean,
it's no different
Iraq
to
was
what
taken down.
Yes.
Afghanistan was taken down. Syria was taken down.
Libya. Anybody who dared pose a problem has been taken out. Now, Iran is 100 million people with a very formidable army. It's not that simple. But he continues to goad America to do his bidding. I mean, the reality is where we are now. And you sit there, and we've watched on television and all of the social media platforms what has happened in Gaza. We've seen children pull out of rubble, right? And even if 10% of it is embellished and it's not entirely, it's put out as propaganda, the same way, we're the pros at that in the West. We're the pros at faking all of those. I remember once there was this picture of the white helmets in Syria in 2018. Remember once one of the guys got up by mistake and he went back down. He was lying down under a white
top, body bag.
And he go, oh shit, sorry, it's not over yet. I mean, it's comedy. So
another guy smoking a cigarette line.
We're the pros at that. And then the same picture was used. Now, something had happened in Thailand 3 or 4 or 5 years before. So we're the pros at that, right? But the reality remains now, we are being told that everything Israel is doing is fair and just, and they're fighting a war that, really? At what point, I mean, just use the Geneva Convention, at what point, it's called a proportionate response. I think I can't remember what chapter it is. A proportionate response. How can you look at Gaza 3 years ago and look at Gaza flattened today and tell me in any language it's a proportional response?
It's clearly not. But then, which brings me back to what I was talking about in the beginning. There is clearly a disconnect between what citizenry wants and what the government and the ruling class want. It is never about what the people want. And I think people need to start to open up their eyes to it. I mean, we could talk about it here in Trinidad as well. A lot of things, a lot of decisions that the government has made, almost the whole country would sit back and say, but why are we closing Pretorian? Why don't we fix this? Why don't we get back? It makes no sense. Right. So it to me, there is clearly an agenda that we are not a part of or privy to. And that's why these things continue to happen despite massive opposition, because it's not about the citizenry. Right. It's not about the populations of a particular country asking for something to happen or not happen. It's not about that.
Well, I mean, the question really is, has it ever been? Because where we are today, right, and that's why education and at least at surface level of understanding is so important, right? Because you have people like, I'm going back a couple of years, right? It's a brief interlude. I mean, John Locke said, when the social contract is broken, people must revolt. Not that they should revolt or they can revolt. Or if you feel to revolt, you can revolt. When the social contract is broken, people must revolt.
Yeah.
Now, I am a big fan of John Locke. Rousseau, on the other hand, who really was essentially the great Satan of mankind, right, spoke about la volonté générale, the will of the people, which we'd use now. But he said, the will of the people should not be a free will. It should be a will that you trust in your government, right? Right? That was his volonté générale, that you don't have the right. So now, the will of the people has been essentially has been given away to the state. We by that consent, we've basically said, right, I vote for you. Thereby, I'm giving you my consent to do as you please.
Yeah.
But the volonté générale, which is the will of the people, still needs to be exercised. But even Rousseau had preached, and I can't remember who I love Voltaire. So how did he say it? He had wrote up to Rousseau and said, thank you for your peace. I look forward to walking around on all fours. I mean, like we're just dogs.
Right.
Right? And he's one of the most revered philosophers, who was also cited in the Marxist movement. I was a Marxist who was young and not a Marxist at some level. Here I'm eating a big fat steak, and here's a guy that could barely afford rice. Your humanity will get the better of you, right? So now I don't know that what you're saying, I think orthodoxically is right, but I don't think the will of what the people want is any different, because we've now not just given our consent, we've submitted to government. We've basically said, we are no different here, but they basically said there's a level of trust that the government, as my agent, remember, it's my agency, as my agent is doing my bidding. And that's why they have to take the media and make you feel, they have to spin it around so that what we are doing is in your best interest. Benjamin Netanyahu, we are the great Satan, we are the small Satan. We are fighting a common enemy. Your enemy is my enemy. These people don't want what's best for us. These people are antithetical to us. We must destroy them. And a lot of my friends in America are still on the Hamas thing. Root them all out and kill them all. I'm sitting there like, oh my God.
The 1.5-year-old is Hamas?
Correct. Yeah.
No.
As Andrew Tate said, that 1.5-year-old, what the hell does she know about what's going on?
You know the list of deaths I read again, these things could be embellished, but I read on the list, there's a big document of all of the casualties on the Palestinian side. And I think the first 18 pages, or the first, I'm going to mess this up and I apologize, but a first massive chunk of the first few pages are kids under 18.
Yeah.
And then the first 5 pages are children under 5. So it's like you have pages and pages and pages of infants and toddlers who have died in this conflict. And we still see nothing wrong with it. But I think we do see something wrong with it. I think we are talking about it right now. People don't like what's going on.
Sure,
but it's not that it's not enough. It's not that it's not enough. What are we supposed to do? Go on. Do we need 1 million people to march to Palestine and set up a wall?
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
But that's the only thing that will stop it, because the governments want what they want.
I agree. And that's the impotence. We are impotent. What hurts me the most with Gaza is my impotence. There's nothing I can do about it. No, granted that it's my people, if you look at it, right? But irrespective of that, as a human being, you can't look at what's happening and not sit there and be completely horrified to the point where action is required. But the point is, what do we do? Because now, I mean, this administration is basically saying, if you go to college and you utter or hint at some sort of anti-Semitic talk, you're going to lose your visa. So the point is, we talk about a country, and I'm an American. I love America. I love the American people. I love the American dream, right? You are now saying the very central concept of what makes up America.
Free speech.
Freedom of speech and freedom of expression, freedom of religion, right? No, I do agree there are limitations.
Well, yes, you can't incite violence. You can't libel somebody.
The point where you can't have freedom of speech to the point where, but America, you can go and burn the flag in effigy, and that's totally legal, right? So what you're saying is, I can go on a Harvard campus and I can burn the American flag.
Well, I think that's not illegal.
No, absolutely
Defacing
not.
the U.S. flag?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Right? I mean, unless they wrote a law in the last 5 years.
No, I don't.
Right? So you sit there and burn the flag, right? Because that right of expression is to be able to burn that flag in effigy. So you can have and the police will circle you so you don't go and burn buildings down, right? But you could burn the American flag. But you can't go and say something that potentially may offend a Jewish person. You will lose.
Or another state.
Or you will lose, and you will not be allowed to come back and study in Harvard, but you can burn the American flag. So answer me the question.
What's more important?
What's more important? Where are we going? Where are we going? So to me, it's become a bit of a psyop. I think America...
It's the media play. You control the media, you control information, you control the people's minds. It's clear as day. To me, it's clear as day. It's the controlling the media has been the play for the last several decades, and it's only gotten worse now that everybody has one of these in their hand.
Well, it's also backfiring because there are so many things that are coming out now I mean, and things that this it's on Wikipedia. I mean, I did Operation Northwoods when they literally. I mean, it's there. Look it up. Operation Northwoods on Wikipedia, where they literally there was a plan to attack continental United States and blame it on Cuba.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then there was one I read about recently where they put into the air, right, infiltrants into the air to test out chemical warfare, but it was not supposed to cause real injury, but it did. It got into the clouds and into San Francisco, and then I can't remember the name of it. Look it up. Look up chemical attack San Francisco, right? And then they went to Congress. It went on for a year or two in the Senate, and then they ultimately said that that the 8 or 10 people that were killed were not killed by that. They got caught. They got caught, right? And people died because all of a sudden these weird kind of throat issues were happening, and people were having problems breathing, and 8 of them died.
I mean, but this is going on. But these things have been going on for a long time.
I understand.
For 100 years. I mean, look at the Tuskegee experiments. Look at Black Wall Street, the bombing of Black Wall Street by. I don't think I should say it.
No,
but yeah. So at the end of the day,
you shouldn't.
Things have been happening a long time. I actually want to, because I think we could talk about this for the whole episode, but I want to bring it back to Trinidad now, and specifically what the people want versus what the political class seems to want. What's going on, or what's your opinion of what's going on with between Kamala Persad-Bissessar, our Prime Minister, and Maduro? Was that a miscalculation on our Prime Minister's part, or?
I mean, they're a pretty important neighbor to us. I understand that from a geopolitical perspective, you have a decision to make. It's America or it's Venezuela. You choose America. I mean, I think the Rowley administration, I think it was at least 3, if not 4 votes in the OAS. We abstained, right? American initiatives that we abstained from. Now, if you abstain, basically you've said no. Right? In other words, I don't want to answer. So abstentions are looked at as voting against America. Perhaps the Prime Minister is trying to overcompensate now for the years of I guess refusing to support
certain
American initiatives in the OAS. Maybe it's that. I don't think the language was necessary. I think she could have been far more forthright without those threats. I just don't know. I just don't know within there who has the foreign policy gravitas to be giving her advice, right? Sean Sobers, I would answer no. I mean, he's fresh and green, right? And that's why I think Amy Brown offered to mediate, and he was obviously swiftly shut down.
But that makes, I mean...
Well, I mean, this is not how our country works.
I know,
you
but
don't take help from the other side.
I know, but... that was an opportunity at such a significant... Even though it was not a massive... I mean, I consider it significant, but it's not in the grand scheme of things to our country. I think it could have been...
I think you're dreaming.
But it could have been a tiny little olive branch and say, look, we want to work.
No, but then you see that.
Then what?
It's not just
her support.
No, it isn't you lose your support. Another thing, it's just unique to us. Once that happens, now in the United States and in Europe, you sometimes need the support of the other side. Thus, the president will jump on the Air Force One. Let's go have a chat. I have to go to X, Y, and Z. You call X to the White House. You take them out for dinner, whatever the case may be, because you need their help. Because again, they don't wave the party flag. They wave the country flag first. Right, under the party banner. Big difference. But here, if you were to take advice, and it would happen on both sides, if you were to take advice or assistance or intervention from the opposition, right, who you just beat handily in an election, it would be almost an admission that I don't have the ability, the tools, the skills, the people, the personnel to get the job done. So I think I think in a perfect world, I agree with you. I'd love to see the day.
But I would counter that simply by saying, by refusing the help, it shows the continuation of division.
Well, yeah,
And it actually makes, I think,
100%.
it makes a party look weaker.
100%. But I don't think it makes about it.
I think it makes them look.
But the continuation of policies, positions of the last 20 years, 100%. And I think we as a country have to mature first. I don't mean the prime minister or,
No,
I mean as a
everybody.
country, we
Yes,
have to mature
yes,
first.
as a population.
And I've said it before, I'd love to see the day when an election is won and a government wins and the previous government, you then say, hold on, at the very least, keep that board in place. Or maybe, Minister, I'm asking you to stay on for 3 or 4 months to finish the work that you're doing, right? Or something that'll be a watershed moment for the country. But this was an opportunity, I understand.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying no.
I actually like what you just said. I like that proposition a lot.
That would be a huge level of maturity. You've seen it in the US from time to time, not necessarily in cabinets and stuff, but people in key positions are left there, right? Because, hey, you're halfway through doing a great job, right? I'm not going to go and move you just because you were appointed by the last president, right? So I think there's a level of maturity that we need to arrive at. But I just don't know. I mean, the prime minister is very savvy. She's politically savvy. I mean, she's proven that over time. She's wily. She has the longevity. She certainly has the political prowess, right? Now, does this backfire? I mean, left up to me, everybody's style is different, right? And people talked about, when I spoke about Gary Griffith and someone was saying he's this and he's that. I said, listen, Gary Griffith studied abroad in West Harbor, or wherever it was, West Point. He's an army man. So his style's going to be different, right? Harry Truman, they insulted his daughter and he told the guy, I'm going to send you a stick so I can punch you in the face if I was to see you. You had wartime presidents, you have non-wartime presidents, right? So when they asked about that thing with my support at the time when Gary was fired as police commissioner, right? And his style, that's his style. The prime minister's style is different, right? So you will have to know by the things that you say what the impact is going to be. It could be a build and break or break and build, where she's going to go now and send an envoy and speak to Maduro and say, listen, right, at the time, right, maybe she's painting a scenario, but she's savvy, so she has to know what she's doing. But to me, I don't know where the sage and the wisdom of foreign policy, who in there, right, I mean, the Suraj Rambachans and the guys who have that experience, like them or not, I don't know that they're around. Who advised her to go onto that fairly, and it wasn't vitriolic, it was just, it
was a statement.
As I say, them was fighting words, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you want to go? I mean, obviously she has a reason for it. I would not have gone that way.
Yeah.
I would not have gone that way. I mean, they're still your biggest partner. At some point, we are going to have to broker some type of arrangement with Venezuela, whether it's with America's blessing, it's inconsequential. We are. I mean, listen. You could swim from Patos to, Patos is there. What was the last Huevos? You could swim from Huevos to Venezuela. I mean, we are very, very close to Venezuela geographically, right? And I think we've always had fairly sober and cordial relations with Venezuela.
13,000 years ago, we could walk.
Well, I'm sure, yeah. I mean, so to come out with that, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to question the prime minister. Obviously, she has her own style. She has her own political savvy. Were I in that position, or I in an advisory position, that would not have happened, right? There's a lot of ways to be strong, right? And not to mention the fact that, I mean, this is our army compared to Venezuela.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, you know, obviously, nothing's going to happen. I mean, the Venezuelans aren't psychopaths. You could dislike Maduro, you could dislike Chavez till you're blue in the face. I wasn't particularly fond of Caldera and the guys before. Venezuela's gotten a rough go either way, right? Right. But they're not going to go and attack Trinidad. That's not going to happen, right? Because they know that America will respond forthwith, right? So, unnecessary. Let's see how it plays out.
Well,
let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, but I guess
I wouldn't have done it that way.
Because I guess that's been I mean, I've heard and I've read on social media of supporters and non-supporters not being very happy with that move. I mean, regardless, as you said, it's probably not going to result in much, but still, I mean, I think. For me, I move. You know, I have it written in so many places where my name is on social media. My life motto, one of them is diplomacy always. So I think whenever I look at something like that, and it doesn't have to be just with our prime minister and this most recent thing. I look at things and I say, well, did that need to be said? I mean, at the end of the day, this is all geopolitics. This is all a game that I am definitely not a part of, a main player in. And so I can have my opinions all I want.
But I will twist and adjust your statement a little bit. Diplomacy first, not diplomacy always.
Well, I like diplomacy.
Times, but there are times in diplomacy has run its route. Diplomacy is war with pens, eh? That's what it is.
Well,
diplomacy is war with pens. We're sitting down, we're going to be, listen, this is what I want, and this is what you want. Let us be diplomatic and see how we can arrive at both of those objectives. If we can't, well then, nice meeting you. You go to the next level up, which is generals, right? And then that is the next level up, which is, okay,
I'm just not a big war. I'm not a big fan of war. So that's why I kind of move with that in mind. And I try to preach it as much as possible, because I do believe that we can talk our way through 99% of situations.
So diplomacy first. I mean, it's like real politics. I mean, taking moving the orthodoxy of politics away to politics in real world applications, right? And then realizing that diplomacy always is not a feasible position, because you then also will be sending a message to your counterparty who you're negotiating with that I am diplomacy always. I am not prepared to go to war. You have to, and it reminds me of when Trump introduced Jim Mattis as his nominee for Secretary of Defense, and he said, "I nominate," and he didn't say his name. He says, "Mad Dog," because his name was Jim Mad Dog Mattis. And at the same time, he then put Rex Tillerson, former head of IBM, as Secretary of State. Slick back hair, good-looking guy, Armani suit. That's my Secretary of State. I'm sending you, Rex, to deal with whatever problem I have to deal with, because it's diplomacy first. If that doesn't work out, then I'm going to call in Mad Dog, right? So you have to have the ability, you have to have the Mad Dog, because diplomacy always just doesn't work. So
what do you, well, you brought up Trump, so now I have to ask, what is going on with him and Elon? It's now a joke. Elon apologized this morning for the things he said last week. But I'm going to be honest. I'm completely dumbfounded in terms of the game plan. I usually think that I can see through things. This I don't see through at all. So I don't know what's going on.
Well, I think Elon. We love Elon, right? I mean, I think the reality is, I don't know that Elon is a joke. A lot of memes came out, a lot of fake tweets that obviously weren't real. I saw the one this morning. Someone sent it to me where he said, "I'm sorry about the post last week. I may have gone too far." So I follow Musk. So I went on to X
to see what it was.
7 a.m. And he did actually, because I mean, you could put anything.
Yeah.
You could put anything.
You could Photoshop anything to a picture.
Anything, right? I just think people have to realize that Elon Musk is a freak, right? He's a super freak, a super genius. And he's not normal. I can only imagine the cocktail that this man is on. I mean, Adderall, Xanax, what is Xanax? I think it's, but all of the ones, right? Adderall, and what's the other one that for ADD? He starts with a P. He's on all kinds of drugs. And I remind people of one story with his brother. Tesla, that must have been 2013 or 14. Tesla was under all kind of pressure, right? His brother had and this is a documented story with his brother. He had $2 million in the bank on a CD. If Musk didn't get the money, Tesla was dead, was gone. His brother cashed in the CD, gave him the $2 million, and they made it over the hump. And then 5-6 years later, Tesla's worth, not now, 60 billion or 70 billion. Now it's 5 or 6. is $60 or $70 billion. Elon is worth $20 billion or $25 billion. His brother ran into a problem, needed $10 million. Writes to Elon, says so and so and so they got met, right? So Elon, and this is all in the book, right? And they eventually made up, as I'll tell you. And Elon spoke to his financial manager, controller, and said, no, don't give him the money, right? His brother flew in to see him, and they had a big row, big fight and everything else. And anyway, so Musk ended up giving him the money. But he told him, he said, you need to let me know. I don't feel these things and I don't see them. You understand? Musk did not even, he does not have, and it's not about emotional unintelligence. He's emotionally, he's an emotional atheist. He didn't even.
I mean, some people would call that unempathetic, though.
Yes, but the point is, and he said, that event happened with the $2 million. It was gone. He booked it and it was gone. It did not, there was no continuity of action or thought that played into future decisions. And he told the brother, I'm sorry. You understand? The empathy, it's not there. The ability to identify that feeling, that
maybe I should repay this, or maybe I owe my brother a favor.
It just came in as a $10 million for what? No, don't give him the money. Right? He doesn't have that type of compassion. He doesn't. And him and his brother have a great relationship, and it's fine and everything else. He's like, I gave you $2 million effing dollars, my last $2 million, otherwise you wouldn't be here where you are. And he was like, and it like kind of shocked him into understanding that he had made a mistake. Musk doesn't see things that way. So when he went full retard and then started to say, and I think he crossed the line, because Trump could actually sue him for defamation by saying he didn't say, I think.
He said he's on the Epstein
Trump is on the
list.
Epstein list.
Did he really tweet that? He did tweet that?
Bookmark this post and come back to it. And that was when, so Musk does not have the ability to be measured. I mean, you and I, we spoke about it before, the $10 million boat, the 20-foot boat, the 40-foot boat. The man wants to put people on Mars. Mars, you ever tell you Mars, right? And he's selling tickets to Mars already. So you think he has the ability to contain himself? He got pissed off at Trump, maybe because he took
lost the contract.
Maybe Trump took out the EV mandates. I don't know.
Right.
First thing was he called the bill a big, fat, disgusting, pork-filled abomination. And then Trump, and by all evidence, Trump remained very calm. He even told J.D. Vance, and that was on CNN, be very diplomatic with Elon, but don't do anything. Just keep everything cool. And then something pissed off Trump, and he said, I would have won without him. And then it just elevated. And then Musk said he was on the Epstein list, right? And I think that's a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, you say that
That's a nuclear bomb.
It's total character assassination.
This basically said, kaboom, your ship is over, right? And then you want to out-alpha Trump? Forget him being an alpha male. What he accomplished is indescribable. And I have my issues with Trump now because of Gaza. I am off the Trump train. I still like him as a disruptor. I think he's a great, charismatic, brilliant leader. How he connects with people the books will be written about it. But his kowtowing to Israel and watching this Gaza thing unfold and doing absolutely nothing about it, I'm off the Trump train. However, you're not going to out-alpha Trump, right? You're Musk, you're brilliant, you're boy wonder, you are super genius, you're a freak, you're going to Mars, all of that. You're not going to out-alpha Trump, who is also the President of the United States of America. If people had to choose, all the people that you like, and all the people who are influential, had to choose Musk and Trump, they're choosing Trump. Except the liberals, because all of a sudden, what a quandary they were in. They're like, they don't know what to do.
Elon? Do we not like Elon?
Because, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Correct.
Right? And so I think he made a critical error. I think he made himself look like a fool, like a petulant child. I was very disappointed.
I still don't. Again, I cannot make heads or tails over why you would go on a tirade like that, unless, as you mentioned earlier, there was a specific recipe of cocktails.
Yeah, no, the point is, I think he's on a lot of drugs because, and I said not illegal drugs. Like he's on a lot of
medication.
And not because he's a sicko.
I think drugs are in there, but yeah.
Musk probably has ADD on fast forward. This is the kind of guy he is. You don't sell tickets to a trip to Mars and people actually buy it if you're normal like us. I've told you before, reasonable men don't change the world.
Yeah.
Normal men don't change the world. And that's what Musk is. And
unreasonable.
And he didn't realize at that point until after someone said, Elon, you took him, oh, did I? I screwed it up? Shit. I didn't even think about that. He doesn't think.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't think about that bomb blowing up.
Wait. I could agree with you when you talked about the story with his brother. I can see that he didn't see and he didn't, the empathy is not, meter is not there or whatever. But tweeting that Trump is on the Epstein list. That's something, no. I can't accept the non-empathy part because of the implication that even being on that list says, and what it does, that has been part of mainstream conversation for the last however long many years. So there's no way that he doesn't know.
Well, I'm just saying that's the only reason. And then not too long after, they posted, one of the PACs for Trump posted an interview with Julian Assange. Now, if you're going to talk about unearthing and revealing files and declassifying information, Julian Assange is the tip of the spear of that for the last 10 years. And the interviewee asked, why have you not released anything on Donald Trump? His response was, because there is nothing.
Yeah.
This is Julian Assange has no dog in that fight. And this was about 5 years ago or 4 years ago. He said, there is nothing.
Well, I just thought...
Beyond Trump being an asshole.
I just came up with a theory that I'm going to ask you now. Do you think that Elon said what he said as part of a game to then get people to absolutely demand, to get Democrats to absolutely demand that the Epstein list be released? I mean, could this be part of because that's the only thing that I could think of as why he would do that is part of a game, a thought out game. Otherwise, it makes no sense to me at all.
Any theory, I'm prepared.
Well, that's my theory.
And it's as good a one as I've heard.
Yeah.
Right? Because the reality is, you have Kash Patel, right, talking about...
not being the FBI director that we all hoped that he would have been.
Well, thus far he's not.
Let's see.
He's very measured and he talks very nice.
The only 6 months in
well, 6 months is 6 months is a lot.
Well, he's even less because he was appointed
after. But I think it's not quite 6 months. January, February,
21st,
March, June.
20th.
No, it's 4.5 months, but approaching half a year. And you have this complete disparity of information between him and Pam Bondi about the Epstein list that was promised to come out, and it's going to come out, but he said it's not going to come out. And so people are like, listen, what's going on?
Yeah.
Part of it was that the JFK files now been redacted. They're not going to be released. At least they haven't been, right? We've been teased, has not come out. The Epstein files. But do you understand if the Epstein files come out? Do you understand? I mean, 4th of July fireworks will be like you and I lighting up one of those little, those little
M8 scratch bomb. We scratch bomb.
Fella with a little grey sticker. They used to sparkle. That's what
sparklers. Yeah.
Do you understand the potential fallout? The concept. I mean, it is very, very clear that a lot of people that are in positions of not just power and authority, but moral authority.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Have been, I guess, implicated by hearsay, right? That has not been proven yet. They're talking about names that will rock the world to its core, So if I was a betting man, and as you know, I am a betting man, I would bet that the Epstein files, like Epstein himself, right? The same way Epstein himself is fertilizer. Do not think for a minute that the Epstein files are coming out. For a minute. They will tell you it's coming out. They will keep you on the loop.
And then they'll have a war to distract everybody or some event. But the thing is that...
a building will blow up and the files will be in the building.
I just realized this, is that this whole spat between Trump and Musk happened the week after Kash Patel said the files weren't coming out. we needed something. We needed a distraction. It sounds like the population needed a distraction.
This was a pretty big distraction. I mean,
The population. Everything to me is a distraction. Everything that happens, all of this stuff is all. I can kind of write it back to a distraction to get people off a trail or to stop asking questions. But if the Epstein list were to ever come out, and we start to see the people on it, I think that that's when people's eyes will be opened because of the non-action that will happen against those people. I think that that is the ultimate eye-opener when we realize that the population and the citizenry doesn't mean anything. We are but cogs in the machine.
The problem is, and that's why, in my opinion, it will not come out. Because if it comes out, unless it's doctored and it's redacted to the point where it becomes this vanilla
And markup paper.
yeah, nothing, and it's adjusted. If it does come out in the vein that which we have been regaled with what's there, and the salivation that's going on now by the people who want to see these elites exposed, the salivation, if it were to come out, it's not possible that there aren't severe consequences.
Well, we'll see. Because we know, listen,
you don't get away from that.
They've had princes implicated in underage scandals, and nothing has happened to them. We've had Anthony Weiner is back in the political trail. We've had disgraced and fallen politicians come back, and it seems like I think that the distraction machine works.
Yeah, but okay.
It works.
Yeah, but you're talking about isolated incidences. Anthony Weiner.
I don't think they're necessarily.
Anthony Weiner was sexting some woman, and he probably got shaken down because he was married to Huma Abedin, who was Hillary Clinton's primary aide de camp. And he made a stupid mistake at sexting, and you had Geraldo sending dick pics or whatever the case may have been, right? And who's the other one you referenced?
Well, I set up a particular prince.
All right, so Prince Andrew came out with this nonsense, and he sat there and he goes, "I have sweaty palms," so it couldn't have been me. I mean, it was almost like a defense of a 2-year-old child, right? But those were things that. I don't think that was necessarily the Epstein files. That was Virginia Giuffre.
Well, yeah, no. I'm just saying that we've seen people in power.
Yes.
With serious allegations, and nothing happens to them.
No, he's been disgraced. He's stripped of all of his royal titles.
Oh, poor fella.
Okay, I mean, he's stripped of his royal titles, his royal allowance. I mean, his royal allowance. It sounds so
juvenile.
So I don't know. Yeah, But there are consequences. I mean, the point is, Anthony Weiner was disgraced. If it is that the people of New York or New Jersey's 13th precinct want to take him back, that's their choice.
And now Cuomo in New York, Cuomo is running for mayor again. And he's now the disgraced mayor because he's now aligned with, I guess, in some way aligned with Trump, or forgave Trump, or whatever, apologist, whatever for Trump, whatever the case is. But he was revered. I remember I have friends in New York who defended him fiercely through the COVID, how he handled the COVID pandemic in New York itself. I have friends who defended him fiercely, and I had to bring up certain things. I was like,
"Well, he comes from stock, and Mario Cuomo.
Come on,
is Mario Cuomo was his father, was legendary in New York, whether he was good or bad. And then there's obviously Anthony Cuomo and the fella on CNN." Who didn't he get busted for something too? Chris Cuomo, he didn't do something.
I don't know. They all do
something. No, that was the other. Not Ben Stiller. The little guy who got caught.
There's a new mayoral race. I want to try and find out.
In what city?
In New York. Who's the guy that's running the front runner for the Democrats now? His name is.
Is that the same guy? Eric Adams?
No.
But he's dropping out?
I don't know if he's dropping out, but this guy is the candidates.
Running.
And I can't remember his name. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
He's a Muslim mayoral candidate. Let me see if I could.
Well, Sadiq Khan just got knighted by the king.
There you go.
So he got a full knighthood. the king passed the sword on both shoulders.
Zoran Mamdani.
And there you go. He sounded like he from one of us.
Zoran Mamdani, Democrat, running for mayor.
Where he from, Charlieville?
I don't know.
This is Zoran Mamdani. He sounded like one of our boys.
Yes, yeah.
You know, one of our boys.
It's true.
They made it to New York 30 years later.
I wanted to bring up did you hear anything about that they had a camera on Epstein's cell? And when he first came out, the news first came out that he died. But they say that there is footage of him in the cell.
Yes. Where is the footage? I don't know. But what we were told is that the cameras happened to disconnect.
To stop working, and the guards were asleep.
Which in a detention center, it's not to say it's a prison, it's a detention center with probably 7 or 8 cells. That sounds like one of those movies that, like them country western movies when the guy falls asleep.
And the keys hanging off his
and they stick something out there and they pull the keys.
That was from Pirates of the Caribbean.
It could have been Pirates of the Caribbean. Three Amigos or something.
Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride in Disney World.
Right, yeah.
They had that, the animatronic was the thing, and the fella would stick through the prison cell.
Big wrong thing with keys. Yeah, Three Amigos. I mean, that was the one with they had with Billy Crystal and Jack Palance.
I'm not gonna remember that.
There was 2 or 3 of them, kind of funny, went into the countryside and stuff. Yeah, but again, we are happy. We are happy. You must read a book called Amusing Ourselves to Death, right? And I've always said, they talk about Orwell, and I mean, Orwell was right, but Huxley was far more on point. It's not a matter of taking away
He's
the
Brave
books.
New World?
Yeah. He said,
it's not about changing, it's about changing the history. Rewriting
Orwell said
history.
they'll take away the books. Orwell, Huxley said they make books irrelevant. Nothing is relevant. It's almost Huxleyan now that we are just caught up on TV. I mean, you ask the average person, right, 17, 18 years old, about any of the topics we discussed today, right? They can't answer them, but ask them who won the
Billboard 100.
Billboard 100 or the NBA scoring title and assists in the. And they're rattling it off. I mean, we're amusing ourselves to death. Is what we're doing.
Mechanisms, all of
right?
that. And listen, bread and circus, eh? Yeah. Bread and circus.
Yes, and then it's
very real different today as it was 2000 years.
Correct. And you talk about bread and circus now. You look at the shrines that we're building. I mean, I went to see. I think I said this before. I went to see the Raiders play somebody at the stadium.
NFL.
Yeah, and it was nonstop. I used to go to the Orange Bowl in the 70s and 80s, and it was football. And then when it stopped, it was look at the sky or the rain or go and buy a Mountain Dew. Now it's jumbotrons. Things are happening on the screen. As the timeout is called, people run on. They're doing a throw a pass for 100,000, or hit a cheerleader for $50, or do this, or that army person who's being honored, and some guy dropped it. It's nonstop. It's nonstop. You don't have a minute to process.
No.
And it's the same thing with the phones. It's nonstop. It's from checking the cameras in your business, or checking the cameras at your home, or checking WhatsApp, or going on Insta, or checking X, and you have a notification, and things are coming through, and Snapchat's happening. It's just nonstop.
This has been engineered. The notifications have been engineered to give us a dopamine hit. So every time you see a notification on your phone, it is a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
That's every time you see that little red, you see the notification on your lock screen, or you see a little red badge next to your app. In the case of an Apple, I don't know what Android is. Yeah. They've created a perfect circle for us to run around in.
Because they're amusing us to death. Because nothing is important. Do you condemn Hamas? We look at children. We look at what's happening, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we're being amused.
Yeah.
We're being amused. And then we told anything, and we're like, it's Hamas. It's Hamas. Don't bother me. Don't bother me. It's Hamas. I don't have to feel bad. And they do it so you don't feel bad. But we should feel bad.
Yeah.
It's right there in front of us on TV. So either we're not seeing it. What are the 2 reasons why we're not seeing it or we don't care? We're definitely seeing it. So it has to be that we don't care. And we don't care doesn't mean physiologically we don't care. It means we don't care because I don't want to interfere with my time. So don't bother me with 40,000 dead children. I don't care because Charlie Kirk starting up in 5 minutes' time. Or Alex Stein, who's hilarious, by the way. Alex Stein is hilarious. He's hilarious, right? Or there's something else happening. Or there's an X Spaces that's going on, right? Or Taylor Swift is getting a new tattoo on her left backside of her ass, right? And that's what matters to me. I mean, some of my nieces can sing 12 Taylor Swift songs, word, letter to letter, score, everything. But you ask them, you know, I don't know. And they just don't know.
Yeah.
Right? You just don't know. And there was something today that came, I will send it to you, where a guy went around to college campuses in America and basically read the transcript of an Obama speech from 2013, right? And said, what do you think about this from Donald Trump? Oh, it's racist, it's big, it's immoral, that's not what America's built on, and that should not happen. And he's like, yeah, but I mean, it's just really talking about immigration. And he says, yes, but it's wrong. Person to person to person to person to person to person. About 7 of them.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of, so obviously the show, they showed the 7.
Right.
And then
reacting to thinking it was Donald Trump.
Right.
And said, oh, no, you know what? It was actually for
Then
him.
he comes and he plays it for them as a Barack Obama. And they were like, well.
They make excuses for
Yeah, I didn't know, but Trump is doing it in a much different way. It's far more racist and insightful and everything else. And then he asked one, he was like, yeah, but you do it. She goes like, do you have another question or can I go?
Yeah.
Right. She bailed out. So, and these are our institutions of higher learning. That's why I have no love for Harvard. I have no love for Harvard at all. Right. I have no love for the Ivy League. Right. I mean, I have nothing against them, but you want to tell me that those are, I mean, they are the revered halls and the revered institutions where it all began. But Harvard of today, it's not the Harvard of 50 years ago or 40 years ago. It's not. It's not. You get in there for the most part because you think if somebody has a 7.0 GPA and a 1,800 on the SATs, which is 200 more than you can actually get, and they scored top of everything, but their social media profile was not in keeping with the narrative.
Right.
Now, generally, those people, you have 1 or 2 needles in a haystack. Generally, those people are sheeple. They fall in line. Narrative, did this, did that, right? But you think if that person applied to Harvard and they looked up at his him or her, at his or her social media profile and didn't like some of the things that were there, or they weren't congruent with what Harvard or Yale or Columbia or Brown or Cornell was doing. You think they're gonna get into Harvard? Again, I'm a betting man. NFC. No beep chance.
Right.
And that's what the world has become. So it's all essentially becoming BS. The only bright shining light in all of this is BTC.
I love Bitcoin.
Really is the only bright shining light that's completely free from interference and this
Censorship.
How do we get? You can't get control, so they're going to buy it. That's the beauty. They're going to start buying it because they can't control it. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It is a currency sent from God.
Well,
It is the perfect money.
I'm glad that we brought up something positive in the end because it was quite unfortunately, I don't want to say necessarily depressing, but just a down conversation, but one that definitely has to be had more. But thank you for coming on.
Free Palestine. I mean, I don't think it's saying Heil Hitler, but Free Palestine. I mean, it's gotten to a stage now where if we don't, I mean, if this is not, and I remember a T-shirt that I gave to as a matter of fact, I don't know if we're still on the air. Let me show it to you.
Yeah, we're still rolling.
I think it's still this. Now, my father, look at this T-shirt. Look at this shirt on his profile. This was from, I don't know when this was from. Look at that picture. The T-shirt I gave to him.
Wow.
That's probably John Sabga passed away, my partner, in 2017. And he was in very good health still because I wanted to put this banner on the whole side of the wall in Trotters. And he said, we must not become political. I said, it's not political. This is humane. This is not political. This is humanity.
For those
So
listening and watching, the T-shirt says "Stop the massacre in Gaza now."
this is probably 2013 or 2014. Right? This is not people. This didn't start October the 7th.
No.
I mean, but we will be judged. We will be judged, and like I said, I won't be silenced. I mean, I don't have a platform the way the Anna Kasparians and the Dan Bilzerians and these, and if you look at the people who are really talking out, part of the Armenian genocide, these guys have seen genocide, and they know what it is. I don't have that platform, and what can we do? What can we do? But sit there. I've stopped reading the story. I've stopped listening. It's just been, it is too hard to watch it. So, anyway, so
Appreciate
we
it.
ended on something good and we got sad again.
But I appreciate that.
But free Palestine.
Appreciate you coming on.
Love you.
Take care.